So I was asked recently why we were going back to Disney World so soon. With 47 square miles, home to 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, and 25 hotels, Disney World is one of the largest vacation resorts in the world. In all of that madness, there are over 300 establishments where you can grab a little something to eat or something to drink.
Come on, everybody, here we go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Down the Road Travel Channel. My name is Will Van Winkle. With over 300 establishments to grab at least a little something to eat or a little something to drink, every trip you make to Disney World can be a little different. And I've not even come close to trying every establishment, much less every dish. For that, you might want to go check out those full-time Disney vloggers like Disney Food Blog or Paging Mr. Morrow. I can say, however, that we've established some of our favorite places to eat, as well as some of our not so favorite. And here's where you can get an honest opinion from somebody who isn't getting any perks or getting paid for talking about any of this. Disney, I'm waiting for my press pass. We arrived right around 4:30 p.m. to Disney's Fort Wilderness Campground on December 26th of 2023. We'll be going back in December 2024, right around the same time. We just find that while it may be peak season, it's not hot. So people are actually there having a lot more, it seems to me anyway, having a lot more fun than they do in June and July. We're in the so-named preferred campsite loop 200, I believe it was, which is walking distance to the settlement where the food truck roundup, Trails In, Hoop-de-Doo Review were always located the last 4 times we stayed there. So we walked over, we found no food trucks.
If I ever have a golf cart, I don't see the food trucks. Like, they were down here last year.
I think they were by the sing-along this year.
Well, for some reason, Disney decided to move the trucks from this area to the meadows near where Chippendale's Campfire Sing-Along is, where they do the s'mores and all that stuff. Makes no sense to me. There were more picnic tables over at the meadows. There were tables over at the beach. There were places to sit. There was a playground right there and fewer people, so you could get to things a little bit easier. But I'm imagining that Disney has plans for the area, and so they wanted to move the food trucks out, or the food trucks weren't making quite enough money, so they wanted to move them to a busier area of the park. There's got to be a reason. I just don't know it. I'm not privy to that information. Now, the mainstay food truck, the Chuck Wagon, is closed for refurbishment right now, which was sad because a couple of us had our hearts set on that mac and cheeseburger. Let's face it, we're walking 10 miles a day. We're going to need some calories, right? We were also disappointed to find there were only 3 trucks, a lot less than normal. One served a non-dairy frozen dessert. I've eaten that before. It's pretty good. I mean, it's a little different than ice cream, but it's not quite a slushy. So it's kind of a weird icy treat. It's great in the summertime. Wintertime, I don't so much need it. There was a crepe truck. None of the fillings for the crepes sounded that good to me. Dana doesn't like crepes. And Dia, coming from Europe, didn't really find any of the fillings very authentic and very appealing either. And then there was one that sounded okay, which, we had to choose that one. It's called Apps, and it seemed to be Mexican inspired, or maybe even a little bit of Cuban in there. And we ate there. Not bad. The food was actually pretty good, but it wasn't what we had our hearts set on. So here's a little bit of a lesson. Unless you have advanced dining reservations, always be prepared to kind of make changes to your plans. Even if it's with rides. Rides break down, things happen. You may not be able to get into the restaurant that you want. So always be prepared to roll with the punches, as it were, while you're at Disney. We grabbed our food. We headed over to the bike barn where there were a few picnic tables. It was dark there, so I don't have any pictures of the food to show here, but we were able to eat in peace and not have to balance anything and be bumped over by kids that were trying to get to the sing-along or the s'mores making or anything like that. So now belly's full. We headed back to the RV to start planning our day for Epcot in the morning. So morning comes, we head on over to Epcot. There are a lot of great places to eat at Epcot. My wife loved the fish and chips over at what is it, Yorkshire County Market, something like that. Um, Look that up because I'm not 100% sure of the name. I'm not a big fish and chip fan. She loved them. She thought they were great. I thought the fish was a little greasy and the chips were a little soggy. But her opinion is going to be the more important one there. We've eaten at Via Napoli. Via Napoli, the atmosphere is great. You can see when they're carrying the dishes out that the pasta is overcooked. So we stayed away from the pasta. We got the pizza. Most food bloggers that I've seen recommend getting the pizza well done, meaning cook it a little bit longer than usual. The crust is super, super thin, and it falls apart if you try to pick it up. They're like ridiculously thin. To me, the sauce didn't have a lot of flavor. The ladies loved it. I just thought it was okay. To me, honestly, the flatbreads over at Pinocchio Village House are way better than Via Napoli. Chefs de France, hit or miss, depending on what you're getting. Like the steak was amazing. I can't remember what Dana got, but she just said it was just okay. So, kind of pay attention to what you're ordering on that one. This time around, we didn't get any dining reservations over at Epcot because there's just so much food and so many places to eat. Plus, with the holidays, there's always going to be holiday food booths open and available and all that. So, of course, we went to Leal. That is a family tradition for us. We come in, we hit the place at early park entry, do our first ride, head over to Leal, grab some little fruit tarts or some baguettes. We always get some baguettes. Usually we grab a couple extra, take them back to the RV with us, and the next day we'll make some French toast, or our first day off we'll make some French toast or something like that. This time we didn't do that because we just ran out of time at Epcot. This year we wanted to try Regal Eagle Smokehouse. The food was good. I mean, the brisket, we got the burnt in mac and cheese. Dana and I split that. The meat wasn't the way it should have been. When you hear burnt ends, you're thinking like the crispy pieces, the outer pieces of like a brisket, and it just didn't have that texture, it didn't have that crunch, but the flavor was good. The sauces they offer, if you like Carolina style barbecue where you get that vinegar, real thin vinegary barbecue sauce, you're going to love it. I'm from Texas. I like that thick barbecue sauce that just sticks to everything, and you need like a roll of paper towels to get rid of that stuff on your hands, and then you still have to go wash your hands because they're sticky. That's not what they had, so wasn't completely satisfied. It's probably not going to be a return trip for us. Not that it was bad, it's just there's other places that are so much better, and with what we ordered and the sauces that they offered, it just didn't quite live up to what we were hoping it would be. As I said, Epcot has some of the best restaurants in all of the Disney parks, theme parks at least. And when you're getting into hotels, that's a whole different story. They have some of the best decor, but they also have the best decor and the worst food from what I've heard. And it's actually so many bad reviews on this. Is La Cava del Tequila over in the Grand Fiesta Pavilion in Epcot. You have the little Tres Caballeros ride. It's just a dark float ride. And you go through the restaurant at the bottom, and it's beautiful. It looks like a night scene on the mountaintop somewhere in Mexico. But from what I hear, the food is not that great. So we have not tried it. If you have, let me know in the comments below what you think of that restaurant, so that maybe we can either decide to try it or keep our distance as we have been. So by now we're done over at Epcot. We make our way over to Magic Kingdom. This evening for dinner, we go to Pinocchio Village House. Get some flatbreads. Now there are a couple that seem to be seasonal. Last year, my daughter Dia got the margarita. This year, the margarita pizza or flatbread. It's pizza. Come on. It wasn't on the menu, and we heard a couple of people behind us also mentioning that they did have a cheese pizza, but they didn't have a margarita pizza. So seems like some of those are seasonal, but still good food. A little known fact about Pinocchio Village House: everyone knows that it overlooks Small World on the left-hand side. There's a lot of dining, but there's an upstairs section that a lot of people don't know about. And next to the upstairs section, there's a very small little balcony that overlooks the carousel. So we ate on the balcony. We've eaten at Liberty Tree Tavern multiple times, and the food is great. It's a kind of a Thanksgiving meal thing. You get roasted turkey, you get roast beef, you get pork, mashed potatoes. I think it's a cornbread stuffing, things like that. Problem with this is, even though the food is great, for a family of 4, you're paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $300. So it gets to be quite expensive. And if you can't eat a lot because, say, you had a surgery, gastric bypass, or you just don't eat a lot as is, that's a lot of money for a lot of food. And even those who can put it away leave a lot on the table. So if you're going to leave the park for some reason or another and you can get whatever is left to go and you have a way to warm it up the next day, I would highly recommend Liberty Tree Tavern. The food is amazing, and that sundae, that caramel sundae that they give you at the end is just awesome. It makes the whole thing worth it. But for the price, as I said, family of 4, you're looking at about $300. And there's going to be a lot of food left behind. And if you have no way of taking that with you, it's just wasted money. Now, personally, I think Disney should offer you maybe like a lunch portion for a little bit less, and then it'd be worth it to more people. But really, the atmosphere is great. It's kind of like an old Victorian style restaurant, guest house thing. And the food is amazing. I highly recommend going there if you have the means to do so. But if you don't, there's plenty of other places to eat at Walt Disney World at Magic Kingdom. So another place that we've eaten multiple times would be Columbia Harbor House. Columbia Harbor House is set over by Haunted Mansion, over by the riverboat, kind of in between Frontierland and Fantasyland. They have kind of seafood fare. My daughter Dia loves the lobster roll. My wife Dana and I, we will split the trio platter. It has chicken strips, fried shrimp, a couple of pieces of fried fish, some hush puppies, and some French fries, and there's plenty of food for both of us. They have fried shrimp. They have grilled salmon. Of course, the chicken strips for the picky kids, things like that. We've also eaten over at the Plaza Restaurant down off of Main Street, USA. The food is great there. Sandwiches, the menu changes from time to time. So kind of be on the lookout to make sure they have something that you're going to like. The one thing I will say is that we did try one time the Skipper Canteen over by the Jungle Cruise. And now we've heard multiple times that it is great from some of those food bloggers, but nobody in our party liked that. So kind of look at the menu before you make your reservations for that one, because that is a reservation. And then this time we went to the spring roll or the egg roll cart, and we got those cheeseburger spring rolls. They're supposed to taste a little bit something like a Big Mac, and they did a little bit. I personally didn't like it that much, so the one time for me is enough. I'll never try it again. Some people love them. Personally, I just didn't think it was worth all the hype. It was okay. It wasn't great. Then you've, of course, got your Dole Whips. You've got your ice cream carts. You've got your confectionery. You've got everything that you could even possibly want and more over at Magic Kingdom. And Magic Kingdom is the park with the reported worst food. But if you look around, you will find something that you like. Now, in most of the parks, we'll experiment. We'll try different places to eat all the time. For some reason, over at Hollywood Studios, it's quite the opposite. We'll quickly find a favorite, and we'll stick with it unless for some reason we can't get reservations there. And our first favorite was nestled away over by the Muppets 4D Adventure, serving Italian fare. It's Mama Melrose. Now, Mama Melrose is kind of like maybe a step or two up from, say, Olive Garden. It's not the best Italian that I've ever had, but with friendly service, decent food, and a price point that won't give you a heart attack when you walk in, it's a place that we visited quite often. My stepson will swear by the spaghetti. I think it looks overcooked. I've never tried it. Dana loves the meatballs. I typically will get the lasagna, and then my stepdaughter, it just kind of varies based on her mood. She tries different things every time we go there. Well, one time we couldn't get a reservation there, so we were looking around to see what else we would like, and we found 50's Primetime Diner. And ever since, that has been our go-to restaurant. Tell you, I had a chicken pot pie the first time I went there. The crust on top was kind of flaky. It was more like a puff pastry than an actual like hard pot pie crust. But it was amazing. The fried chicken is crispy. It's got a lot of flavor. It's juicy. The sides are amazing. Dia would get the salmon Caesar salad the first time we went. Stepdaughter got that the second time. And then Dia got the grilled salmon the next time we went. And there's been nothing that disappoints us over at 50's Primetime Diner. I don't have a lot of pictures of the food. So it's very much what you would expect in, say, growing up in the 50s in a household. Keep your elbows off the table. Yes, please. No, thank you. Things like that. Make sure you're respectful. No cell phones on the table. They've gotten a little bit more relaxed with that rule, since so much of what you have to do on the Disney app is on the Disney app, and you have to do things on your phone. So they're a little more relaxed about the cell phones than they used to be. But they will ask you, are you planning your day? And if you say no, they'll make you put it away. If you go wash your hand, if you go to the restroom, they'll ask you if you washed your hands, and then they'll ask you what color the soap is. So, I mean, little things like that, and it's a lot of fun. You can opt out of that. We've got what they call themselves the cool cousins both times we went, where they didn't really reprimand us for anything. They're like, hey man, keep this under the table, don't tell anybody we did this for you, that kind of thing. And if you eat everything, you get a little sticker. You get your Clean Plate Club sticker. So, I mean, it's a fun experience. It's a fun dining place, and the food is amazing. So those are the only two really that I have restaurants for Hollywood Studios. However, I will say this. I am not one of those that goes on the drop rides. So whenever anybody goes over to Tower of Terror, I go across the street to Scoops. This, to me, is probably the best ice cream in all of Magic Kingdom. Now, I know it's probably the same ice cream from restaurant to restaurant, but for some reason, I think it just tastes different at Scoops, and maybe because it is just a little kiosk stand where you sit out there and you're eating outside. And on a hot day, it is amazing. You can hear people screaming over at Tower of Terror, see people going over to Rock and Roller Coaster, coming back. There's a lot of people watching. There's a pizza place down the way. There's a couple other things. So I love going to Scoops when everybody else is going on the rides that I don't go on. That's all I've got for Hollywood Studios. I mean, obviously there's a Starbucks, there's a Joffrey's Coffee, which is the official coffee of Disney World. But for the restaurants, we really haven't tried a whole lot. So let me know what your favorite over at Hollywood Studios is, so that next time we can go there, we can try it. Now, I know there's other restaurants. You have the Sci-Fi Cafe, which, you're sitting in the back of the car or eating while you're watching a movie. I've heard the food isn't that good there, so we haven't tried it yet. If you have a different story, again, let me know in the comments. That way we can decide what we're going to eat on our next trip to Disney World in end of December of 2024. We typically now are going between Christmas and New Year's. It's still peak season, but again, it's not so hot. People aren't as miserable as they are in the peak season during summer. Now, let's go over to Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom has a lot of good places to eat. We would frequent Yak and Yeti. Amazing fried rice. I've gotten teriyaki there a couple times. Decor like you wouldn't believe. I believe the staircase in there is from like a Tibetan monastery or something like that. I'd have to look that up, and that will actually show up in my um, Animal Kingdom video for 2023, for our December 2023 trip that we did. So be on the lookout for that. Flame Tree Barbecue, quick service, walk up, you can mobile order. The pulled pork mac and cheese is great. The flavor is awesome. It did leave a little bit of a greasy feeling in my mouth. The barbecue, I believe it was barbecue chicken, to me seemed a little dry, but Dia loved it. This time around, we went back to Yak and Yeti, but instead of going to the actual Yak and Yeti sit-down restaurant where you need the advanced reservations, we mobile ordered over at the quick service. Same fried rice, great stuff. Believe I got honey chicken. Just the food is really, really good there. Now, from my understanding, Yak and Yeti is not a Disney-owned restaurant. It is a part of the Landry's group. And I understand that you can get points for your Landry's points if you're one of those members. I don't know that you can use them. So that's something to check into. There's also a Rainforest Cafe at the very front of Animal Kingdom if you, for some reason, want to go there. Now over to Disney Springs. This is reportedly some of the best food on the Disney complex. I personally disagree. We've had ups and downs over there. So Morimoto, we went there one time. A lot of recommendations for this. We went over there, and granted, it was 2021, so the parks had just reopened. Menus were limited. We expected that. They had a very limited lunch menu, and it was, I'm just going to say, nasty. We got spring rolls, pork spring rolls. There were not a single vegetable in the spring roll. The whole point of the spring roll is to have some vegetables in there. It was just chunks of really dry, under-seasoned pork that, probably came from another dish, and they wanted to make sure that nothing went to waste, so they chopped it up and they put it in the spring rolls. But it didn't do the pork any favors. I don't know what it was like on the dish that it originally came from, but in the spring rolls, it was just, you couldn't eat it. They had some sushi. It's hard to mess up a California roll, and the California roll is passable, but it was no better than something you would get at a grocery store over at the deli counter. Then stepson had the duck ramen. Now I'm going to address the duck ramen. It was obviously leftover duck from dinner service the night before. They cut it up, shredded it up, whatever, put it in their ramen. Fine, I understand that. That's great that you want to conserve and not make anything go to waste. Totally get that. The broth had no flavor, and the duck was so dry. I mean, you could start a fire with it. You could use it as kindling. Take it back to the Fort Wilderness with you. Throw it in the fire pit. Make sure it's covered fire pit, by the way, over at Fort Wilderness. Light it up, and you're good to go. I have no idea how a celebrity chef restaurant had duck that was so dry sitting in a bowl of noodles and broth. It takes talent to get it that bad while it's sitting in a soup. So would I ever go back to Morimoto? I'll tell you this, anytime we walk by Morimoto's, my wife will say a few choice words. She's still not quite over the horrible experience that we had over at Morimoto's. It was so bad we couldn't eat anything. We got up, we left, and then we headed over to Chicken Guy. Chicken Guy is nothing special. I mean, it's chicken strips. Their sauces are supposed to be some of the best. Their sauces were okay. You could tell they're using chicken stock in their milkshakes, which was a common practice for a long time, so nothing wrong with that. But it was a little greasy. So I've never had a greasy milkshake until I went to Chicken Guy. So if you're into greasy milkshakes, head on over. If you're not, again, the food is passable. It's one of the places that you can get without a reservation. The line isn't too long, and the prices are fair. So I'm not going to say it's not worth going to, but there's better food to be had. Case in point, Frontera Cucina, another one of those celebrity chef-owned restaurants. And my God, it is amazing. Now, it's not actually a standard Tex-Mex. It's more traditional Mexican, but there's a fusion element to it. So it's not quite traditional Mexican. It's not Tex-Mex. It's somewhere, and it's its own thing, and it works, and it works well. We ordered guacamole to start us off, guacamole and chips, and I mean, it was gone within minutes. It was like a hungry piranhas, in the Amazon, just pounced on some helpless animal and picked it clean. It was so good, and it was gone so quickly that I dream about this guacamole. I can't even remember the rest of the food we had. There wasn't a bad thing there. It was, I can't recommend one dish because everything is so good. If you can get a reservation over at Frontera Cucina, it's dead center when you walk in. If you're taking the bus transportation over where they drop you off and you come around, it's right there. You just walk straight back, and it's pretty easy to find. Do a little shopping, grab yourself something to eat, and it seems like it's usually pretty easy to get a reservation there. We haven't had any trouble. One time we actually just kind of walked in, we stumbled upon the place, but it smelled great. We were following our noses the first time, like literally we walked into Disney Springs, what's that smell? That's where we're eating, and we walked straight to Frontera Cucina. And didn't even know it was a celebrity chef, and I will have to look that up, and I'll put it on scrolling who's the celebrity chef behind it. But they did an amazing job with this place. So if for no other reason, if you're not into shopping like me, you think it's, hey, Disney Springs, it's just a strip mall, there's no real reason to go there, Frontera Cucina, that's the reason to go there. And there's very few. There's a couple of those places around the United States, but there's very, very few. So if you're going to Disney World anyway, and you're just curious about it, that's the place to eat. We went to Sprinkles for a little something to eat, sweet. It's a cupcake shop. They have vegan cupcakes and some other stuff like that. How do you know when someone's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. That's the joke. And yes, people walked in and they'll say, I'm vegan, and they have something for you. So it's pretty easy if you are vegan. Why? No, if you are vegan, that's a place you can go to get a nice sweet treat for yourself. The cupcake design, the aesthetic is a little odd. To me, this looks like a zit that needs to be popped. Maybe I just have a weird mind. I don't know, but it's not. It doesn't look appealing to me because of that. I believe Amaya, Jeffrey, and Dia, the stepdaughter, stepson, and my daughter, all got stuff. Dana and I didn't, but I think we did try it. And it doesn't taste bad. The fondant, they're using an unflavored fondant. I know a lot of people are switching to the buttercream fondant. That gives you a little bit more flavor. Most people, like the regular fondant, they'll just throw it away. That's what they're still using, so don't expect much from that. But the cupcake itself is moist. It's not bad. Is it worth the price? I don't think so. Down the line, we passed by Gideon's. Now, I've seen pictures of these cookies. They don't look good to me. They have too many, say, chips. And the chips aren't even melted. To me, the point of having a chip baked into a cookie is that you have that kind of gooey, pool when you come out and you see that kind of... That's the whole point. And if you're just throwing chips on there and not cooking it, there's no point to it. So it looks like it's overdone. It would be disgustingly sweet to me. Some people love it. There's a line around the corner, and the wait to get in. And you have to get into a mobile queue. You have to do a mobile order, and then you still have to wait in line. And maybe the decor of the place is worth it, but personally, I have never seen a cookie that is so good that I'm going to wait hours for it. I can make a cookie. I've got an oven in my RV, and I can make them just the way I want. If you like it, I'm happy for you. Let me know what you like about it, and let me know if the cookies are too sweet or if they're overdone, or what's going on with that. And maybe I'll try it in the future. I'm only going by visuals and by the line, and I don't think the line is worth it personally. I could be completely wrong. There's a donut place. I can't remember the name of the donut place. I'll put it in here. We went over, we got a couple of donuts there. Huge donuts. You can watch them working, and that's really fun for like little kids or people that are just interested in cooking. My wife got me the apple pie donut. It's a donut with some flavoring on it. It's good. It's not, I don't know. I wouldn't go back. I can't say anything bad about it, but I can't find any reasons why I would try to do it again. So everybody's got their own opinion on these things, and I understand that. Mine, maybe I'm a little more of a classic donut kind of guy. So from there, we go back to Fort Wilderness, where we began. I've covered the food trucks over at Fort Wilderness. I've covered Epcot. I've covered Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and some of Disney Springs. There's a lot more to cover that I haven't covered, but we're going to talk about Trails End over at Fort Wilderness. It is a mobile order, or I believe you can sit down as well. We'll call it Southern Fare. Fried chicken, things of that nature. Of course, they're going to have chicken strips. Of course, they have pizza. The pizza, look, let me tell you something about the pizza. It's not done. Either they're using fake cheese that won't melt, or it needs about 5 more minutes in the oven. I wouldn't get the pizza. Had it before a long time ago. The fried chicken is the same thing that they used to have at P&J's. So if you're sad that P&J's is gone because you love their fried chicken, you can still get it at Trails End. It is part of Crockett's Tavern. There's kind of a split level. Downstairs is Crockett's Tavern, and then the upstairs part is Trails End. So it looks as if Trails End shares a kitchen with the Hoop-de-Doo Review. So if you want some of the stuff that you can get over at Hoop-de-Doo Review, but you don't want to hear the dancing, the singing, the hooting and hollering, you go right on over to Trails End, you grab your stuff there, and it's a nice, quiet, subdued place. It is also right next to, I believe it's Crockett's Arcade. There's a couple of different arcades over at Fort Wilderness, and there's one of them right there. So if while you're waiting for your food, your kids get bored, there's a playground right across the street you can see. It's not even really a street because they don't even allow the golf carts on that part, so the walk path, we'll call it. It's just a really wide walk path, so it looks more like a street. If you don't want to send your kids across the street, or if it's raining, there's the arcade right there. Hopefully I've covered some of your favorites. If not, I've given you some ideas of where you can eat. If you have a personal favorite that you think that we should try out on our next trip, we are going back in December of 2024, right in between Christmas and New Year's. And I welcome any suggestions on places that we should eat while we're there. If you like the original music that I used in this episode, you can find it on your favorite streaming app or right here on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you down the road.
Let's hit the road.